If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Toews. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. Happy New Year. Seriously, it is, we have such, everybody excuse me, everybody I've spoken with has such expectations. And I find it very interesting because it's, we're not even in the time that we're going into yet. Like we're still counting the days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're counting the months and the years and everything like that. And things are happening so fast. I don't know if you're feeling it. I feel like, my hair's being blown back from the speed half the time. Hard to catch up. Excuse me. And I'll just take a drink of something warm. Yeah. So, New Year's come and gone, and now we're into it, and it's just feeling. I had a amazing thing happen yesterday. Was it yesterday morning? Yeah, Tuesday morning. I set myself in my cocoon, and I needed to take some time to realign. And when I have that feeling, I generally will do energy centers blessing, but I'll know that all that because we've done that together. And I just felt I really needed to do that. I needed to align myself. I needed to just focus, to be intentional, and so got up around 5:30 in the morning. And I have this very light blanket that just puts me into a very dark space. And I put on a guided meditation because I thought I really need a purposeful focus, and this will help. Well, I got into it about 4 minutes, and it's just started being irritating. I thought, no, I don't need anything. I need to go into that place of the silence, just into that. Into him, just into him. And I did. And I won't share right now what happened, but it is like for the first time, the oneness and the energy of that place took over. And I became nothing in it but pure energy. And for 2 hours, now I don't sit still for 2 hours. I haven't been called to the mountaintop and sitting there for I don't do that. But for 2 hours I was there. When I came back, I wasn't sure where I was. And since then it's been unfolding and sort of unraveling. And I think, Lord, you are so good. We can't make it happen. We can just position ourselves into you, and you make it happen. And I have nothing else to say about it other than he is so amazing and so good. And I'm so happy that we're learning to live intentionally. So that's my little testimony. But what I want to do is invite everybody. Last year, we did a book club, and I've had such good feedback from it because the book that we chose was the life and teachings of the masters of the Far East. And it was one of those books that stretch you. It's actually a series of 6, and many of you went and bought all 6 of them. But the first one was our book club book, and it really stretched us. It really stretched us. We had done it in our God Squad book club, so we knew what we were handing out here. And some are still doing it. Some are still going through that book and being inspired. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So when I read over Christmas, now, and I showed you this book before. It's, so I'll put it on to speaker view here so you can see it better. And I will pin myself. There we go. It's this book. It's called Wishes Fulfilled. Why does that look backward on the screen?
It looks fine to us.
It looks fine to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. And it's Wishes Fulfilled, and it's by Wayne Dyer. I'm surprised at the number of people who have read his work, who know who he is. I hadn't had a clue. But this book, when I read it, was so fun, because it was like he'd been in all of our sessions. He'd been in all, he's been with us for Wednesday night for the last 2 years. And and it's like the book that puts everything together and inspires you and pats you on the head and says, keep going. This is your gig. Keep going. And it just felt like that. So Dr. Wayne Dyer, Wishes Fulfilled, Mastering the Art of Manifesting, all of those things I like. Why is that? Okay. And he's not with us anymore. He's gone on. But if you don't want to buy the book, it's online and it's on YouTube and it's free. And there's also a PDF if you want to download it or whatever you do. That's all. I like to have the copy in my hand because I write in it and make it my own. And I've also been known to tear books in half when I get really excited, and I keep reading, but I give the first half away. So people think I don't have respect for books. I have great respect, but I get excited. And this is one of those books. This is one of those books. I bought a number of them because I knew I'd want to be also giving them away. There is a one of the reasons is he goes into areas that we haven't discussed on the river, and I think they'll be fun because some of us might have a little trouble with some of the things he said, especially towards the end. But I think they're worth talking about. They are subjects. One of the reasons that this, I think this book is so appealing to me is 10 years ago, I probably would have said, no, this is not, I wouldn't have said occult, but I would have said it just doesn't line up. It's too far out there, or you know how church people were, and I had got caught up in that. Maybe no, not 10 years, maybe 15 years ago, I would have not read this book. But now I'm very excited to share it and hope to have a real fun discussion with everybody. And you know, book club is just reading the book. There's no pressure. Come with your thoughts, and I will have more questions because I have questions and I'd love to hear. Kim and I were talking today about some of it, and I would just love to hear where you know, some of you have landed, those who'd like to participate. So Wednesday, the 1st of February, we have a month to read the book or listen to the book. That will be our book club date. We're going to use the Wednesday to do that. So I encourage you. It's kind of fun to do it. We don't do it a lot. And okay, somebody YouTube recording. Oh, thanks, Gina. Awesome. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's good. Any questions about that? Okay. Does anybody just hate the idea? No. Okay. Well, I just want to welcome everybody tonight and say Happy New Year to everybody. Really, 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 truly is a blessing to be with you. I realize I didn't put it on Facebook that we're starting today. I haven't changed the website. Those are those should be my New Year's resolutions, to get smarter and better at that. But for some reason, I'm just not. So I ask you to forgive me, but I'm very grateful that you're here, and thank you for joining us. And I especially want to say thank you, Kim, for joining us tonight as well. She knows the topic, and she said, I'd like to join you. And Kim, you are welcome anytime. You are so loved by us folk that land here on a Wednesday night. And for those of you, if perhaps by some odd reason you don't know Kim, she is the ultimate heart of the bride. That's the name of the ministry, and they meet on Sunday mornings. And we sort of have crossovers. There's some of you that meet with Kim, some of you are here. We love that. We absolutely love that. So Kim,
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I always love being with you and you're in the group River 474. You all are family to me. It's like I get together with all the cousins and, all of that to find out what's been going on. So it really is exciting for me to be here tonight and get to hear what Helen is going to be sharing. Yeah, I do want to be you when I grow up. So this is good practice for me. I've got my notes ready and everything.
She's impossible, but we love her, and we have a lot of grace. Thanks, Kim, really and truly. And Yolande, I see you have a friend with you, and we haven't said hello.
Hi, yeah, this is my friend Ruth.
Hi, Ruth, welcome.
She knows Kim.
Okay,
Kim
there you are. There you are. Yeah. Well, I'm really happy to meet you. I'm just going to check. I just say welcome to everyone. And we're going to start tonight. I really felt that that I wanted to start our year here on the river with an ascension. And the reason is, other than the obvious, like starting with Ascension, seeing what heaven is doing so we can do it as well. But I realized that I had never done a session, a lesson on just Ascension. And I don't want to lose. We've engaged in a lot of time in meditation, and we've unpacked things and spent times in silence and meditation, all that, but we really haven't spent group ascension time. And I feel like that is so important. So through the year, I think that I'm feeling that we will be spending more time as a group, not every week or anything like that. But I think the Lord is going to appoint times for us where he's going to say, come up here. And what I want to do is have this time and just lay a foundation for us in this, and like, what is Ascension, unpack it a bit, even though, and you'll hear it throughout this lesson, there aren't really rules, right? There is no 12-point rule system thing that this is how you approach God, or how you get into his presence. You can make all those up. We could make them all up, but I think what we're called to is this organic relationship with him in love, where we can just step in where he is at any time, because he's always here. The kingdom of heaven is here. The quantum field that we live in is here, and it's going by so many names. As you may listen to other speakers and listen in the river, we have we have so many names to it, but it's the kingdom of God that's within us. We don't have to have a 12-step program to find him. And we don't have to ask him to come, because he says he never leaves us or forsake us. So there is an intentional understanding that we need to have. And that's what I sort of would like to encourage tonight. This isn't not going to be a long time, because I'm believing to have time together to ascend. And of course, if there's any questions. So we're going to look at two forms right now. Individual ascension and group ascension are both wonderful. And like I said, they've got no rules, but there are protocols that are worth considering when you engage, both by yourself or with a group. So ascension implies, I kind of have had trouble with the word, because ascension implies that we're going to go up somewhere. But really and truly, what we're learning is that the kingdom of God's within us, and it's not somewhere in the great by and by, that God, Yahweh, is not just within us, but he's all around us and he's in everything. So we need to settle that. To ascend means to move up or succeed, not succeed, secede, or to occupy. The best example that I've got is to think of the monarchy. Like when a monarch dies, a king or queen dies, and we've just had that in England, the next in line is then moved up to succeed or to take the place or to occupy the place. And that's what the term ascend to the throne means. We can say to ascend means to occupy or come into a place. It's directional in that you're positioning yourself by desire or intent to a certain place. And when we're moving about in our world, and you've heard it a lot from both Kim and me, is we call it the third dimension or 3D. Like that's sort of where we're at, meaning that's where we are most of the time. I'm hoping that will change. I hope, Ron, that you're listening, because you nailed it in our conversation. We can
Totally here.
Go, guy, go. Yeah, you're way ahead of us tonight. That the place that we're aware of through the elements of height, width, length, are the three dimensions that give us locality, a sense of locality, because it's not even solid, but it's our sense of locality. We've grown up into that. And it's our position in space or dimension called 3D. And then we add a fourth dimension called time. If you ask a person in Manitoba, how far is it to the cottage from Winnipeg? If you ask us, we always answer and say, it's about 3.5 hours. We answer in time. Other places would reply in miles or kilometers. Time in its simplest form. I have gathered information. I have a space-time document that is that thick. That's exaggerating, but it's many, many pages. Because I was really interested in how did we get those terms, why, and everything. I am erasing it all, putting it in such simple terms. You're welcome. That's all I can say. This is as simple as it gets. Time is simply a measurement between 2 points of reference. It operates on our time of existence. It has a beginning and an end, and we call it a timeline or a continuum. Space-time continuum. Everyone's heard that, right? It's the union of space and time as we understand it from the fourth dimension plane that we often will live from. We'll live from time. So what happens when we put time into space? The nature of time then, like what we know, it doesn't have the same parameters. Time as we know it from Earth view has very different properties from the time in space. I don't know if you've seen the movie Inception, but if you haven't, you need to see it, because it's the whole thing is an illustration of this and how we age differently on Earth from outside of space. And it's just a great love story. It's so good. When a person's in space, the effect of time as we know it doesn't exist. If you've ever heard or read this poem, if you haven't, I'd like to introduce it to you. It's written by an RCAF fighter pilot, Royal Canadian Air Force fighter pilot. And he wrote this in 1941. His name is John Gillespie McGee. He actually, I found out, died at 19. He was a fighter pilot in the war. But he wrote this poem. Oh, I have slipped the surly bounds of earth and danced the skies on laughter silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. I've wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence, hovering there. I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. This poem, we actually had to memorize it as children, but it still leaves me breathless. And even more so now, as we understand that we can experience what he said without the plane. We don't need the plane. John McGee takes us from that place that we measure time on earth, a place of limitations, to another place entirely, and he takes time into space. Earth measurements don't apply. And you know, we can say, well, is this scriptural? We know the scripture. Romans 8:38, for I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither present or the future, nor any powers, neither height or depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. We are dimensional people, and this is our dimensional promise to our ascensions. We enter a place when we ascend, we purposefully take our position in him. And how do I know that? Because in Acts 17, it says, for in him I live and move and have my being, as certain as also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. In him we're learning that we are unlimited. I am unlimited. We move our time into a place that is timeless and can't be measured or understood by our natural mind or natural ways of thinking. Like John McGee, by escaping the surly bounds of earth, we enter into a place without the same rules that govern what we understand as time. And that is why it's so strange sometimes when we learn to ascend, to allow and purposefully let our mortal thinking and our natural ways that we've lived with, like almost 80 years, some of us more than that, our natural ways to be suspended. It's hard to think about, but that's what we can do. When we enter into ascension, we occupy a new place as we close our eyes. When we close our eyes, we close them to the three-dimensional life around us, and it ceases to exist for us. You know, when you shut your eyes, it disappears. Just like ascending to the throne as a monarch will leave the world they knew to go and ascend to a new position. They might have thought they knew, about a monarch's life, and as an heir, right, they would have been part of some of the customs. But they are yet to be repositioned to truth and the responsibility of it until they ascend, or until they are positioned on the throne. The heir has really only been a spectator until they feel the weight of the crown. You've heard that saying, right? Actually, the crown is in England is very heavy. Corinthians 2:9 says, but as it is written, eye has not seen or heard, neither entered into the heart of man, the things which God has prepared for them that love him. You know what that says to me? That we who love the Creator, God, Yahweh, actually will see and hear what is unknown, because that's our portion, because God has prepared it, and it is for us. It's not a scripture proving that we won't or don't see and hear, but an invitation saying we can. Those who love him will see what's prepared, and you'll see it and you'll hear it. How incredibly foolish it is for us not to enter into a place where we can ascend and actually occupy that truth. We are really important to him. We are, he has prepared so much, and we have not intentionally nor purposely sought after it, because we're waiting for something to fall from heaven. And he's saying, come up here, come up, position yourself. Yahweh came to us over thousands of years, and we have a record of so much of it in our scripture, in what's been unearthed in other scripture and inspired writings. We have record of the thousands of years, and of Christ, who came to that place of incarnating as us, taking on flesh to live among us and to show us how to access all that the Father has, and to commission us to be him in this world, to be I am. You have to listen to all of Kim's I am teachings. They're on the river. Please don't miss them. If you have, going into this year, it will rock your world. It will help to position you. Jesus didn't come to make a way for us to get to heaven. Just get that out of your head. It's not about that. He came to get heaven into us. Heaven now. It's not about our death and then going somewhere. It's heaven now. And then he said to us, you go and heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the leper, cast out demons, because freely you have received. Freely give. Ascension times, I believe, is our training in doing what we think is difficult or impossible. And those are the times where we truly enter into a place where time, gravity, all the things that we understand that take time to develop. Like we're used to things taking time. You plant a seed. Well, some of you plant seeds better than others. I plant silk and plastic, and I have instant color. But I understand, for those of you who do it God's way, that you plant a seed, you water it, you let the sun shine on it, and then it springs up. It's first as little, and then, so we think that that's the way things are, and that's all. But what we don't understand, that when we ascend to where time isn't that element, it is not that in the dimension, when we come above that, beyond, let's use the word beyond, let's not use it beyond, above, let's use beyond that, gravity's suspended, you can fly. When a seed for a flower or a tree is planted, the growth is supernatural. It isn't bound by time. In Ascension, we can see each other, we can see ourselves as we truly are, light beings, not merely flesh and blood. And if you know my passion to the importance of being human, I'm not putting down flesh and blood. We are the most important being on this planet. But we are light beings, and we can live in that dimension as light beings. You've heard it. I've got this posted, a little post-it notes all over the house, because I'm getting it into me that your thoughts are your reality. There isn't one thing that's happened with you, to you, for you, that you haven't thought about first, and then becomes your reality. Ascending, occupying, giving time to allow our thoughts to occupy a place when we leave the boundaries of Earth, with silent lifting of our thoughts. With an ascended state of mind, our thoughts then become our reality. It happens in the physical 3D realm. It happens in every other dimension, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. I'm not even going to go into how many there are, because I don't have a clue. If we serve an unlimited God, I have to believe the dimensions are unlimited, and I don't have a clue. The end, don't have a clue. John McGee said, I've trod the untrespassed sanctity of space to put out my hand and to touch the face of God. That's what ascension does. This may be an illustration or a metaphor, but I believe God gave him a truth to inspire many who would never open a Bible through that poem. And it's actually my definition right now of ascension. Are there rules? Like I've said, no, you are unlimited. That place where you allow your mind to go is bound in space by the measurement we know as time. We leave space-time continuing, and we enter time-space. And time-space doesn't have measurements. No hours, no minutes, no days, no months, no year. There's only now. It's the universe. These are the terms we use. It's the universe, the source, the quantum field, the field of consciousness, the divine intelligence. It's the creator. It's the mind of Christ. It's the heart of God. It's the face of God. It's Yahweh. It's Yeshua. It's Jesus. It's Yah, our God, our Father. Ascension positions us in him, whatever word you use. Don't get tripped up by language. He is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, all-powerful, all-knowing, all things always. And so we can say, I am. We are him in every dimension, 3D, 4D, 5, 6, 7, and probably more greater, and on and on. Eye has not seen by many, and ear has not heard by many, but it can be seen and heard, and I believe it's his desire that we spend time seeing and hearing what has been prepared for us. We are the ones he's talking about. We are those who love him, and it has been prepared, and therefore we understand that although we are always in the field of divine consciousness, the quantum reality of existence in the world and the universe, we are always in the mind and heart of our Creator God. We are always, however, not mindful of it, nor purposeful in our being in it. If we only live in the 3D, 4D, we'll never experience more, never experience what we've been created for, which is to live fully as Christ did. Seamlessly, we can move from 3-dimension realities to infinite dimension awareness, as he regularly, Jesus showed us how, and he went regularly, seamlessly to see what the Father's doing. And then he only did that. He only did what he saw the Father do, because he says, without him, I can do nothing. Very, very, very truly, I say the Son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his Father doing, because whatever the Father does, the Son does also. I'm going to read that again, because that's us he's talking about. Very truly, I, Helen, say to you, I can do nothing by myself. I can only do what I see the Father doing? Because whatever the Father does, I do too. That's my profession. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Now we've heard that from Joe Dispenza, and we've adopted it. And many people have. Where our energy goes, or attention goes, your energy flows. Your energy, all energy has frequency, and frequency carries information. The world of Yahweh, our creator, is infinite. It is not bound to what we know by experience here on earth. And when you take your energy to another dimension of thought, you will create, you will actually co-create with God, with your creator, with your source. I'm using all these, the various terminologies for it so that we will get it. He's not, he's actually not in just one name. He just is. And he's in a place where all things exist. And so when you do that, you begin to create, not just from desire and intention, but from the limitless desire of God's heart and intention for creation. That kind of takes that responsibility off of us to try and figure everything out, doesn't it? Go to him, touch his face, and he will begin to create with you the limitless desire of his heart, his intent for creation with you. And you don't do it from the 3D world. You don't do it from your recliner, just hoping things will change. You have to reposition yourself and take position to occupy the place. Like a new monarch has to occupy the throne, you have to occupy the place you've been created to be. And it is not only in your 3D, 4D world. When you align with love, with care, with compassion, with gratitude, it begins to manifest. The other dimensions begin to manifest in your life. That is that is ascension, and that is intention. That is purposefully creating from the heart of God, all of it. Everything that's possible is found by thought in the dimensions of God. So, group ascension or personal ascension, are there rules? No. We are free to explore, and we're safe there. You know what, family? We are safe in that place, because that place is a place of love. That place, our thoughts, his thoughts will be aligned. Our thoughts and his thoughts are aligned with his heart and his intent. He never leaves us or forsake us. So this, you may think this is just an exercise, or this is for some, it might be something new if you're just listening to this. But really, it's the simple reality of being aligned with God's heart and intent, and taking yourself in there, knowing that you are completely and totally safe. We always purposefully, mindfully set our heart in love. Our mind and thoughts in love are focused to the unlimited as we let our senses, our hearing, our seeing, our feeling, and tasting all enter in. So we take everything we're familiar with, we just take it in a different context, because we're going to leave to go into more and greater. So when you're in a ascension or a meditation, let's use both. If you find your thoughts wandering, you bring them back to the vision or the state of being that you're in. It's actually that simple. You just bring them back into the place where you are. If you find yourself puzzled when you're in that place of ascending, you're not in your 3D world, and if you feel puzzled by something, that is not the time to go to Google. That's the time where you trust that what you see is in him. I've just tried to really, really emphasize we are in him. We're not in Google. And it's okay not to know everything. We can always Google. I'm not saying never research, never, never go to the resources we have. But at that time, allow yourself to trust what you see, what you hear, what you feel, where you are is in him. If you're in a group ascension and you're inspired by something, or you have memory of a past experience, those are really good things, but it's not a time for your focus, because it's not, this isn't a sharing time. It's a reporting time of what you see and where you are in that time. It's the time to be in the now, with your mindset on things above, not on earthly things. And when you're thinking of memories, you're going back into your subconscious. You've left the dimension that you're in the ascension time, and you've come back into 3D. And now if you start talking about that and reporting that, it brings that frequency to that dimension. I'm hoping I'm making this clear. If you operate in gifts, we are so used to, and I have taught this. I actually don't teach it anymore because I see it differently. The gifts meaning the apostle, the prophet, the evangelist, the pastor teacher. I always taught it was pastor teacher. There's 4. I know people will say there's 5. It's not a time to exercise those gifts. Father will remind you as you come back to 3D what you need to say or do if this is an area you operate strongly in. I don't want to say don't. I'm going to say do, absolutely do, but not during an intention time. This is not the time. Father will remind you when you come back what you need to operate from the gifts that he has in you. And now's the time for him to have center stage. We don't want to go backwards. We want to continue in the now, continue to see what he's doing so we can do the same. You complete your attention so you can see what he's doing all the time. Completely attend to what you're seeing. Jesus actually operated seamlessly in all of these areas. See, that's why I don't teach them separate anymore, because you can point to Christ and how he ministered, and he didn't separate things into a ministry or business models. And the scripture that I like to take liberty with is 1 Corinthians 14:32. It says the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. That means that even though you are gifted in a word of prophecy as a prophet, we honor that. It is a blessing to the body, but do you know it's subject to you? So it is in attention, in an ascension time, we are there to see. We're there to touch the face of God. The time to prophesy is not then, because he is the ultimate prophet that we're with. He's ultimately able to do it. And that doesn't put down the gift. That just says, let it be subject to you. And then at the time, and really we want to deliver words, we want to deliver or action, however you're called to. We want to do it in a timely way where it actually will hit the target. And so just going to leave that. As we mature in our ascension, our call, our mandates, and yes, our ego, these things will not be a dominant factor. And we will learn to share from wisdom, not from zeal. It is so easy to get so excited when you're in an ascension time about what's happening. Like you really, really, really have a lot of words to wrap around what it is. But what we want to do is learn by practice and mature in it, so we can clearly bring back the message of what we see, what we hear, like Jesus did. I only do what I see the Father do. It's amazing that in group ascension time that we have all the pieces, that we can see all the pieces of what Father's showing. And when we put them together, we see amazing picture of it. So what we are to do to be encouraging is to only deal with the ascension time in the heart of Father, heart to heart. My analogy is that the old radio systems, remember the old radios that have a dial? And we used to know that at dial station 101.1, that frequency becomes a jazz station. And when you tune into that, it'll sound like there's musicians in the room. If it's a news station, the frequency, it carries information that will be clear and easy to hear. Remember, this is really important. Frequency carries information. So if you move the dial 101 to 101.2, the music, if it's the music channel, it's going to start having static. You're going to start hearing whatever, you know what I'm saying? And if it's the words on the news, they're going to start being unclear or slurry. That's what happens during an ascension time when there's chatter in the room. We leave the focus, we leave the channel that we're on, which is Father, and we go into our own thinking, which is more 3D than 6, 7, 8 yet we're learning. This is a learning thing. And that ascension time, it changes the frequency and it changes the communication. And it's very difficult for participants in a group to be in a higher dimension together and then have to navigate static of not staying together in the same channel, but you have to go in and out. Virtually, what we're doing is going from this dimension in 6 or 7, wherever we've landed, back into 3. Like, you almost get whiplash. It may be very difficult to find or hear the clear channel when other sounds are introduced. And they're being introduced from 3D. That's where. So imagine that you're in a dimension where you're seeing and hearing angelic, or maybe you've just met wisdom and she's speaking to you. We've actually had that happen. We've been taken into wisdom's house. Imagine then one in the group says, well, I just Googled wisdom, and you know what it means? Well, you actually have such a disconnect when that happens, because your reality is talking to wisdom. You don't want to leave there, but the static is in the 3D, and somebody wants you to hear what it means because they Googled wisdom. Oh my golly. I hope you're getting it. In the collective, we get to practice being as one. We get to learn how to leave the 3D and go higher into more. We get to learn to give and receive grace with and from one another in the process, because you can see each other in the process. We may seem disappointed at times, but we're not. We're only seeing from different vantage points. When we're in an ascension, you may think, I only see the one thing, it's not significant. But you know what? That might be the very key that someone's missing to what they're seeing. So if you're quiet and you don't share it, it's like a puzzle, a board. That picture won't get finished. We need to learn. We need to learn. When we purposefully set our hearts and minds to be one, we become what we focus on. We become one, and we become one with him. In group ascension time, if your mind wanders or even goes back to 3D thinking, one of the easiest ways to stay in stay with the program, stay with the team, is to allow yourself to hear, see what what a person has said. For instance, somebody may share, I feel like there's a beautiful river here, and I just see stones just under the water. It's amazing. That's all they have to say. And you think, and you've lost it. You don't know where anything, but then you think, no, I'm going to go to the river. So that becomes an anchor for you. And with purpose in your heart, in your mind, with your thinking, with purpose, you stand with that person, you look into the river, and by golly, doesn't the Lord show you the river too? And don't you see those stones? But you know what you do? You step down and you pick up one of those stones, and you get to say, they're beautiful. And this color, blue, is amazing. And you may look at the stone, and you may look closer and closer at it, and you may see writing on the stone, and you'll share that. You see, we never need to be lost from one another when we honor one another. And that doesn't mean, what if you see something or hear something or smell something, touch something that's completely not river located or located, river related, just share it, because that might be the key to a whole other thing. So when we share those things together, what we're doing is we're sharing parts of his heart as we're learning, as we're growing, and as we're maturing, so we can see what Father is saying to all of us. It's practice and patience that grows our ability in here. It's a heart-brain journey. We learned about that. It's our mind, our thoughts creating a dimension where everything already exists. We go and we come back. And actually, it's one of the best ways of learning is anything, but learning intention is really important. And it's important when we go into a place when you're learning, take the same path out as you take in. And you know why? Because we are still human beings in this with human energy. And what happens, science shows us that the neurons, the neurites in our brain, whatever the proper word is, actually creates new pathways in our physical being that relate to what we're thinking, feeling about. And when we can in this process create the pathways that make the journey easier, so we can step in and out, or just step in and stay there, because now even our physiology is agreeing with what we're doing spiritually. When we come back into our 3D room together, we share, that's the time where we share our thoughts and processing. That's the time where we say, you know what the definition of this is? I got so excited when I heard it. You know that this is blessing me, because we want to hear. Those are the important things. We can share our thoughts and processing. We can see how the parts are put together, and how the time with Yahweh outside of time holds a message and a focus. So before we go on any further and into an ascension together, if you're willing, are there any comments or questions?
I know in the past I've been in ascensions where usually at the end there's some sort of decrees that are spoken out. Is it necessary to do that, or is that just, if there's a sense in the group, hey, there's something very clear we need to decree, or is it best to wait till afterwards and then in the discussion time take the time to actually formulate that decree and share it together? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll also let Kim answer that, because she's quite seasoned in this. I find it I like doing the decrees and the declarations because it establishes in our world what it's really heaven coming to earth, right? And it establishes that by our decree and by our declaration. And because when we and there are times that those decrees and declarations become really important. Here are the different types of things that happen. Father might show us something very, very specific. If your group, for instance, is governmental, you might find yourself, and I'm just going to testify what sometimes happens at the river, because we are governmental. We will purposefully do our ascension to see what Father is saying about our country or about situations. When he shows us, we then have a responsibility to decree and declare that, because that establishes it. There are other times where you just go into an ascension just to hang out with him. And it is such a beautiful time, because you come back and you feel so encouraged. Like you might have just, it may have seemed so simple. You might have gone up in an air balloon and watched flowers over the river. I don't know. It may have seemed really insignificant, but what happens is there's an encouragement that you receive from that experience, because it's his heart to ours and ours to his, and his pleasure is to encourage us and to build us up. And there may not be any decrees or declarations. There may just be your gratitude. You just go with whatever flows. And there might be times where you come out of a group ascension where all of the things that are reported don't seem to have an anchor. They don't seem to all be in the same place. But what we do is we scribe these intention times, and I should have mentioned that, so that you can go over that. And what happens is you see it in, oh my goodness, we saw this that fit with that, and this with that. And then someone says, and you know the meaning of that? And they share it, and it fits with that. And it's like him telling us a story, telling us just something very special. So that's actually the three that I can think of right now. But the short answer is yes. I personally think that decrees and declarations are important. Kim, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I completely agree with you, Helen. I think they're so important. And also sometimes, depending on just because of the way our brain works, we oftentimes will get kind of spinning about a specific thing and don't have the ability or can't seem to get off that thing to move on to the greater, deeper thing that Father wants to take us to. You can feel it pulling you there, but your brain wants to still spin about this. And so oftentimes going ahead and dealing, like getting that decree and declaration out there is like it gets that done so that you can physically, emotionally move on to where Father is taking you or wants to take you. And so some of that too is just the way we've learned to wire things, or, like kind of like your checklist. I can't move on to that till I get that done, get that box checked. And so it really does facilitate that for your physical being so you can move. And that I find to be so, so helpful. If I can too, something, when you were sharing, Helen, about the no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man. Something that hit my spirit so profoundly because I've used that scripture so as we do, right? But when we occupy our place and space, we are actually functioning from the totality of our being, body, soul, spirit, with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And yet the man part sticks out to me so profoundly. For some reason, it just hit me different this evening when you said it, when you quoted it, that it is our physical man component that struggles with the stepping into that place where I can see, I can hear, I can know all things like my Father. And I have the capacity to engage those aspects and depths with him if I will simply require the manness of myself, the humanity of myself, to come into alignment with that. But we have given ourselves permission because of religion and the way we've been taught, that it's almost like when I read that, see, it says it right there. But that's not the point of it.
No.
Right? Because it says in the scripture that Yeshua is seated at the right hand of the Father. And then I was reminded of in Ezekiel, the eyes all around, right?
Yeah.
So we literally have the capacity, if we will simply bring our body, soul, spirit into that place of union and oneness, and even decreeing and declaring over our manness, our humanity, you have the capacity to see. You have the capacity to hear. You have the capacity. You've been built unlimited. And so you, I decree and declare, are going to embrace that identity and no longer function from a lower place of accepting what religion has taught, which is I can't see, I can't hear, I can't know all things until, right?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you quoted that, because that is the place of setting our mind on things above. When I require my manness, my humanness, to occupy my place and set in everything, my intention, my heart, my mind, my desire on things above, everything comes into alignment. And it's like that, the locking mechanism that goes click, 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 and everything locks in place, and you can see everything on all the dimensions. And oh my goodness. So anyway, so I'll stop because I know there's more, but so incredibly stated, Helen.
Well, no, I think we'll just insert what you just said into the lesson. That is so good. That is so good. And we do need to put the emphasis on the right syllables, because we do miss it if we keep it in the things that we think we know instead of the truth. Because when you put what you've just said as well, you put them in juxtaposition, you put them side by side, so like that, you realize that you cannot be I am unlimited and then say, well, you can't see or hear. I have the mind of Christ, but you can't hear or see. You see, we don't put the points together. We learn something and then we marry it. I remember listening to Chuck Swindoll. He's an old mentor of mine for years. I love the man. And he said so many times what happens in religion is they use a miner's term. When a miner, it says, marries the vein. When they're looking for gold, they are determined that there's gold there, and therefore they ignore all the other signs because they find the one vein, the one thing that looks promising, but the other things are resisting that is not the whole truth. And so we don't want to marry the vein. and yeah. That's that's good. Well said, Kim. Thank you. How is everybody?
Hi. I have a question. Um, it just came after when you were saying, Helen, reporting time, not a sharing time, which was great. And then you were elaborating on memories, but I wasn't quite catching that. And I'd like clarification on that because it was very good, but I wanted to get it more, you know?
Yeah. Pat, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I see Susan here too. So these are river people of mine. I love you guys. Pat, that's a really good question. What I meant, and thank you, because if it needs clarifying, what I mean by that is sometimes we are in an ascension time, and things are flowing where we are seeing people are moving in now, what they're seeing and sharing, and then one person will be triggered by a memory that they have, and it's a good memory, but it comes from their past, right? It doesn't have relevance to what we're doing and what is happening in the intention. So what happens is they start sharing, and really they're sharing out of the third dimension. And so then the static comes in, because now we're trying to think, well, how do we relate to that? Well, we can't, but it's very good to share. It's just not the time of sharing. And does that make it a little helpful? Yeah.
Yes, so that's totally understanding now, but I wasn't quite getting it before, so I wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's good.
May I add something to that, Helen?
Yeah.
Oftentimes too, it's amazing how beautifully Father will confirm something that you may have, or we may have been engaging with him earlier that day in our own private quiet time, that just brought life and clarity and revelation and all of that. And then you step into a group ascension, and it's like everything that's happening is confirming what happened to you personally earlier that day, and we get so excited about it that we want to share. But like Helen said, that actually brings us from that place, that seventh dimension, 10th dimension, it back into the third. But what if Father is actually going back there because there's more for us to get? But that morning we may have not had the capacity yet to go dive deeper or see more, but yet the encounter I personally had created expansion within me. So now as I step in again with this group, and here we are having very similar experiences, what I need to do is call myself into a place of stillness to say, okay, yes, yes, it's confirming all of that, but I'm not going to take that out and share it. What I'm going to do is be still and allow Father to expand what he was showing me this morning, because now I have been expanded by that encounter, and he can add more depth and dimension to it. And if I am patient to be still, what I'm actually going to encounter that I am supposed to share is going to be far greater, far more life-giving than me going backtracking to my counter from this morning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's very clear, 100%, because, and I think you brought out I think it's very helpful for us to understand that he loves every one of us as though we're the only one in the room, like that's how personal he is with us and for us in these times. So that's really, really important. Thank you for saying that. Also, I want to say, don't be afraid in an intention time, your own, just on your own, or in a group, of silence. do you know that he speaks in the silence? And that's okay. That might just be the message. Who knows? But don't feel that you have to fill them and just, you know, because nothing seems to be happening. Rest, be still, and know. There's still that intimate knowing and understanding. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have any?
I noticed Ron had unmuted a couple of times. Did you still want to say something, Ron?
Well, I was practicing what Kim was so skillfully sharing about. I call it cooling my jets for a minute. Because we get so darn excited, you know. And I just really appreciate what we've been talking about tonight. And I'll give you a good example. I've been, like our group, we've been doing a group thing for several months, and we're really gelling. And all that love and all that, and just we enjoy each other so much. And so then we're starting to flow in that way. But at the same time, this is like such a great review on some of the real important nuts and bolts of how to do this. And so there, I was going to just honor what Kim was saying. And Kim, I love you, and I love Helen, and I've just been like the whole concept of confirmation. I felt very led a bunch of times, like and seen some of you guys' stuff, and so it's really cool, like to do this with you guys tonight. And what I'm saying is, like, I just see it like this, like what Kim was talking about, if I understood correctly, or what I got of it is this is like if you can drive to a 4-way stop and you're going like the speed limit and there's a stop sign, and you can just if you can just stop without crashing into a bunch of cars, okay, you can also speak in tongues. And if you can allow certain parts of yourself to yield to speak in tongues, you can allow everything to just fully, completely melt into the 7th dimension flow. And so the more we just practice that be still, and the more we just take a deep breath and just completely trust, like it's just pure enjoyment of Yahweh. And then it's like, I would have met you guys, except for I'm so grateful I enjoy Yahweh so much, but I told him so many times one-on-one, I'd be like, Lord, no matter what you show me today, I swear it's your bonus. I have got to have some time all in your grill. And it's like, if we just trust how much that intimacy means to us, just go blue and just wet noodle, boom, pasta, cooked noodle, boom. I'm talking bam, oh, everything. Okay, that's what we got. Okay, that's all I got for you guys.
That's so good. That's so good. And so spot on, really, so spot on. I love your heart. Your group is blessed to have you in it. That's amazing. All right.
Love you guys too.
Anyone else? Oh, Gina, great. You're mute.
Yes. I just wanted to sort of add at this point, what's been really helpful for me is, my whole perspective in an ascension is honor and respect and yielding. Those 3 words really jump out at me, because not only are we honoring our own selves as in our I amness, we're honoring everybody else there in their I amness, and somehow there is our melding together of unity, right? And so yielding to one another and following one another and respecting one another and honoring one another in an ascension. I mean, if you have those elements, you can't go wrong.
Right.
because, you know, it reminds me of the scriptures. I am in him and he is in me and we are in each other.
Mm.
Right. And how do we do that? By those honoring, respecting, yielding
That's right.
perspectives that we come into. And it is the I practice like, well, I'm going into this ascension. I am is there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know, when you think about it as who you really are.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kim, for talking about capacity, because we have, that is our capacity.
Yeah.
That is our capacity. That is our substance. That is who we are. So that's all. Yeah. Thank you. Beautiful. What a beautiful, beautiful. I don't even want to call it a teaching. That's the wrong word. What a beautiful share. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you for sharing right now, and because what that really is honor caring for each other is the dignity of the process, isn't it? You know, really and truly that is key. It's the secret sauce that makes it so good. And because I remember in our early days in the river, and Pat and Susan are here as well tonight. We for years I think I remember it right. We were 7 different expressions of denominations and faith that came together. And I have to say, over all those years, the greatest gift was love and respect and honor. It didn't matter. Like it just was, the differences weren't an issue, because the love was there and the honor. And so that, you know, that you bring that into that ascension time with whoever you're with, and it makes all the difference. Yeah. Okay. Well, how are you guys for I don't know how many we are. We're 34 tonight. You know, numbers don't matter. Backgrounds don't, nothing matters. He matters. How about spending some time in an ascension time together tonight? And no rules, no rules. But what I would like is a couple of people to volunteer, because I will scribe as well. But if you scribing means to write highlights as you hear them, of things that are being seen, shared, so that when we come back into the room, we can share some of those highlights and see if some of those highlights are something that we are prompted to do, a declaration or a decree, or create a decree from. They're important not to miss. Or if you hear along the way, if you would scribe it, you can just write that decree at the time. So if you would help with that, can I have an amen out there? Kim, Gina? Okay, that's great. Thank you. That really helps. I'm going this. What's happening in my head right now is kind of like help with. One of the things I said was, when you're learning, when you're and practicing, it's a good thing to create a pathway. And by that, I mean, I wrote a children's book, and this is not flogging the book, by the way, called Jacob's Ladder. And it's the story, it's for children, but sometimes we understand children's books. It's about these kids that are reading Jacob's Ladder, and they decide when they go to sleep that they are going to pretend that they're going up Jacob's Ladder. And in the scripture, it's very clear that when Jacob put his head on the rock, and he saw a ladder, and Jesus was standing at the top of the ladder. So when we were learning this particular modality of ascension, we used Jacob's ladder as our learning of, and we would go up the ladder and we'd meet with Jesus, and we'd just see where that time took us as we matured. And that doesn't mean that that's an immature process, but that was a good one, because then we could come back to the gate and go back down the ladder. It created a pathway, and we did that for the longest time. Now many of us from that time just step into Father's heart. Like that pathway is so different than it was then. And so I'm sort of looking at the room and I'm thinking everyone here seems you're in. Can I see if there's anyone in the room here tonight that has never been in an ascension? Can you put your hand up, because there's more than one screen. I don't want to miss you, that you've never done ascension time. Okay, so everyone is familiar. So you're familiar with what I just said, and that helps a lot. And hopefully you understand the pathway analogy too. And that's really great. A lot of times when you take it's a really precious time actually to take communion. We haven't prepared for that tonight, but it's really a precious time to take communion together, and then and just step into Father's heart from that place, because we're already positioned. So how about tonight we use that pathway of, by faith, stepping in to his heart all together. And then I just welcome you to unmute, and we'll respect each other's when you're speaking. Either you can raise your hand and I will find you, but feel free to just unmute and just speak out what you're experiencing in that time. How's that? Is that clear enough? Yeah, okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Well, Father, I thank you for this evening. Lord, I thank you for this amazing, amazing group of people that have set aside their time to grow in you. Lord, I thank you for every single heart. I thank you for the fact that we are all positioning ourselves every day to learn more and to be one with you. So in that understanding, in that spirit of oneness, Lord, we come into your heart tonight. Lord, we just step in by faith. We thank you that you are not far away, that you are ever present right here. As our very breath, we can breathe you in and out. So Lord, even as we take that breath in, we take you in. And Lord, as we breathe out because we're where you are. Thank you. Thank you. As we stepped in, I didn't see anything. I just heard his heartbeat. Just it's subtle, but it feels like it just envelops, feels warm and welcoming.
As we stepped in, I saw us all there together in a field. And the peace of that heartbeat, because that's what I didn't hear it, but I sensed it, that every one of our hearts were beating as one. And looking, and we knew we were one, and we were just looking about and seeing in wonder and awe. And then there was a banner that appeared, and on the banner wrote simple.
Hmm.
And I saw Jesus at the gate, and he opened it as we were coming, and he was just beckoning us in, just come on, and just welcoming us. And the word that came to me was, you don't have to be asked, just come. And so I think we're very free to just walk right in, no matter what.
That's great. I love that. Just come.
As we stepped in, I saw ourselves stepping into the sun.
Mm.
What I saw, can you hear me?
Yes. No, you're on mute.
When Jesus was holding out his hands to say, come, he took each one of our hands, and we weren't separate. We were all flowing together like as one.
Mhm. And further to that, I saw us not walking through him, which I saw him not walking through him, but in him. And we were all in him, like physically almost, like melting right into him.
Mm. Then I saw this, it's similar to that too. It was like, there was like this gold. It was gold, and it was like this ring of gold around us, just meshing us together with his gold.
Mm. Mm.
And it was like the gold was flowing. It was um like flowing like alive, like flowing around.
As I felt his heart, I felt like a blanket wrapped around us. And then the blanket turned into an igloo that was wrapped around us. And then a fire was in the middle of an igloo, like a bonfire. And as the bonfire lit and it got warmer and warmer, the igloo started melting and the water was just flowing around us.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
When we stepped, the moment we turned in, I found we were a body of water, like similar to a river, but every bit of it was alive, and it was making this humming sound, like an sound, but it didn't have a human vibration to it. And it was completely surrounding these smooth stones. And I've been watching these smooth stones, for lack of better language, being nurtured by this water that is around them, and the nurturing is coming from the friction between the water and the surface of the stone, as well as the sound that we are making in this substance that looks similar to water or is moving similar to water.
Well, I think that explains what I was seeing. I kept seeing us going like up and down, but I didn't think we were jumping, but I think that kind of describes what I was seeing, probably the waves going up and down. And I just what I kept seeing, but we were all together. So that kind of explains, I think, more of what I was seeing, with us going up and down, up and like a wave.
Well, I'll give some confirmation on the whole movement thing. There's some sort of movement, you know, and the way I saw it was like ribbons, you know, like colorful ribbons would be like in the wind. And the movement of it was like wind to me. And like right when we first started, like I muted and I just shut my eyes and I just started with the 4 Hebrew letters. And the second I started with Yod, was like this tiny little point just went whoop, and it was like boom. And it was like all of us like stepped in, and I had this knowing that this realm was created and that we're all stepping into it. And then when somebody said flow, is just like instantly I saw like colorful cords of entanglement that were like moving like ribbons in the wind.
I see a huge eagle, very colorful eagle, and we are on top. Some are together, some are flying on their own, some are, you know, a few together, and we all are flying above. I too see that we are engaging in our own way in this gold, in this water, in this wind, through the ribbons. However we feel to move, we do. And we're engaging in the things that are put before us here. We too are frictioning ourselves against the surface of the stones in the water, or even in the bonfire, even in the liquid gold, in the movement of the wind, in the ribbons. And I'm excited to see what we experience there.
So
And I'm looking, oh, sorry.
I keep seeing
Looking down at those stones from up above, and they're different colors, and the ribbons are different colors. So I believe God's showing us color, the meaning in some of it, but the stones are different colors, and so are the ribbons, very different colors, not just red, blue. They're very tones and hues and parts of the same color, but different intensities. And So I just keep, I can't get the colors out of my mind here that I'm seeing. I hope somebody has something.
Well, I keep seeing us. Can you hear me? I don't hear me. Yes. Okay. I keep seeing us in this whirlwind, and it's the 7 colors of the rainbow. It's a complete movement, and we're all in it. It's so interesting, it's all of us in this whirlwind, and it's beautiful, and the colors are just beautiful.
When I first stepped in, I saw the gold. Immediately, it was just bright and tiny, but wasn't a river. It looked more like a disco ball or something like that, because it was just flashing around. But the very first word that came to me, you're on a journey. But then afterwards, I saw, we are on a journey of love. And yeah, that kind of just confirms the movement and some of the things that other people have already seen.
I saw something really cool. It was like Yahweh took the stones and they were lifted up, and each stone was placed under our feet, like the exact right stones were almost adhered to our feet, and from him. So it was really cool.
That love word really resonated with me. And I believe the different hues and colors and dimensions are love. They're that we grow in love, and the different dimensions are more and more love that we grow in. I can just see that it brightens as we grow in love. The color brightens.
Wow.
And it's the cohesiveness of all of us together within this movement, and with the stones and the colors and everything. There's just this melding of all of our hearts together. That's just beautiful.
I agree with what Lana just shared. I keep seeing us holding these stones, these smooth stones in my hands. And I actually physically did it here in my house. And we're just releasing that sound over them, this, and so I just want, if we can all do that, just cup your hands together, see the stones in your hands, and pull your hands close to your mouth, your face, and begin to just release that sound and continue making that sound. Don't stop. Just keep making that sound and keep making that sound. Keep keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going.
I felt like these stones are the 12 stones, 12 stones, which was in the breastplate. And that's what we have it now. And every stone is a living stone for different purposes. And it has been released to us, the power that's coming out of the stone. I just haven't known it, like it came to my mind.
I feel like we've gone back to the heartbeat, which is where we started. Or that's where my heart went.
Mhm. That's so good.
As we were doing that with the stones, I was the stone. And that, just was saturating and filling me, and we were the stones.
When the eagle was flying, I actually became part of the eagle and was soaring with us all as the eagle.
I felt the gold represented that God felt this was very precious to his heart, the unity of this coming together and the unity of what's happening.
I felt like I feel like the sound really activated something, and the way that I was kind of seeing it was like sort of like a mountain lake, or maybe like a rocky stream, like a stream that has a lot of stones, like those shallow ones with a lot of stones in it, and like a lake by like mountains. But here's the thing: as soon as I interacted with the stone and we all did the sound together, then what I saw was like the top surface of the lake. Like I knew all those stones were under the water, and then it was just like boom, it like released all this energy. And whatever that was, that's what I saw.
Right, right. I would like to propose right now that we all purposefully just come back into the room, because there's been a shift since the sound and the stones, and I'm sensing that people are sensing what has been going on, and I'd like to unpack it with everyone rather than get fragmented going, just continuing. We'll understand it once we have the discussion, and appreciate Ron, beginning to share and unpack, and that's what the last number of people have done, I feel that there's been amazing unity and love, like that has been in the thread, like how incredible. It isn't something we need to decree and declare, because we just are we are that, we are the love, we are that unity, and have operated. But something very significant did happen, and Ron alluded to it, about the sound did something. And just bringing my supply, and it's just part of it, I felt that it opened a door. And the reason I'm suggesting that we come back and talk about it rather than go on, because we came to our capacity in this time. It wasn't quite an hour, but we came to our capacity. And I would like to propose that we all take from tonight and ask Father, if that speaks to you, that the sound opened a door, go back to the sound and see a door, see if it opened. Do you want to speak to that, Kim?
I completely agree with that. Helen, that's all I can say, because it was exactly what that sound was about, was opening the door, and those stones that we were holding in our hand began to transform, change, shift in our hands. And I don't know if you all could see that, but they were completely transforming shape.
Yeah.
So I completely concur, Helen.
Yeah. In the stones were really significant, as and I'm not, because I was scribing a lot, I wasn't as engaged as I would normally if I was just on my own. But I feel those stones, all of you who saw the stones, we almost didn't have the language for them. That's how significant they were. Like we stumbled a bit with what they were. So obviously it was a supernatural impartation for the stones. And when they were put under our feet, I think was very significant as well, because he placed them there for each of us. None of us have been left out of this. None of us have he purposefully made sure that we were standing in that place. And when Kim said, look at them closely, I'm going to encourage, look at them closely. Yeah. Do you feel out of this evening, you may feel like I've interrupted in my right now, but do you feel that there is a declaration or decree that comes out of tonight, or was this a time of encouragement, or do you feel assigned to go further?
Helen, the sound was something very unique, and I felt we were traveling in the sound. And I'm, me, I'm not pretty grounded here. So we were actually flowing, and there were different voices, and some of it was like music. At least that's what I heard. And we were traveling in this sound, like, and flowing and traveling, and it was like just going along, and that was very meaningful. I don't think I've experienced that before.
That's very cool. That's very cool. That's encouraging, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It certainly feels more of a beginning than somewhere we're supposed to stay. Like the journey that we're talking about, even just the eagle flying, the wind blowing, like just that this was, like you were suggesting, like just sort of a resonation to a beginning, resonating to a beginning.
Right.
Agree.
That's right. Yeah. I've Kim,
I was just going to say, if I can, I honestly don't believe, I agree with you. I don't believe that there's to be a decree or declaration. This feels very much like an invitation, and a place of expansion that each one of us gets to choose to leave it on the screen of our mind and go, wow, that was really awesome. Wednesday night, we had so much fun. It was powerful. And that be the extent of it. Or we can, in our own personal space and time, engage that open door and in that sound, because that sound belongs to every single one of us.
Yeah.
Every single one of us made that sound and can continue to make and move out of that sound.
Yeah.
And where is that going to take us and expand us into? That next Wednesday, when we come together, we can come on this call and say, oh my gosh, I've got to share with you what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's just how it feels to me.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
I agree, Kim.
Yeah.
I felt like we all were given a stone or stones, and they were changing, and their shape was changing, but we all had one, and we all had a voice. We all had a frequency, and so it feels like, okay, wow, there's something beautiful and amazing for each and every one of us uniquely, but corporately as well. So to bring that all together and do our part, do our thing, bring our capacity, right? Bring our substance to what it is the Lord is opening here for us, which I love because it's the new year and it's the new thing. And there's something that He wants to tell each and every one of us that we each have to hear for ourselves. Just like we each had to release the sound, just like we each got a stone, we each have to find it.
Yeah.
It's inside.
Yeah.
We just have to remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
I was feeling something about with these stones, just everything in heaven is alive. And I was feeling prompted, like maybe to suggest, like, hey, you guys, we're supposed to engage with these stones, right? Not like something weird or crystal ball craziness. I don't even know anything about that jazz, thank God. I trust Yahweh and believe exactly what he says, exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, you guys, this is an invitation. Like, we
Yeah.
can revisit any of the different things. As quick as you think of it, you are instantly there. And so we choose, we honor our focus. We honor heaven with our choices and our focus that way. So long story short, you know, they're going on with these stones. And it's just like my scroll, like I'll just say, like, souls to think of it one way, but now I'm just like, oh, I love you. I can like heart resonance with my scroll, and it's like all happy when I'm just thinking about my scroll. I'll be like, oh, can't wait to meet with you. Yeah, stuff like that is real.
Come on, that's really good. Yeah, I feel that the thread throughout this has been started and ended with sound, and that I think that I feel that that's a great significance to this year that we've entered into, and that not only will we be engaging in it, but we will be hearing it more. It will be something that Father will very clearly mandate and continue to invite us into. Yeah. Awesome. Does anyone have?
I just keep getting the word assignment over and over.
Okay.
So
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there, I think as we personally respond to this invitation, that assignment will become really clear. And I don't think it's going to shock us. We were so in unity and in oneness with it. None of it's going to shock you or shock us as a group.
Sharina wrote, lift up your heads, O gates, be lifted up, you ancient doors, and let the King of glory come in.
Come on, very encouraging. Very encouraging. All right. Well, any I see you. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I would like to share this one thing that I saw in the very beginning, Helen, when you said that you heard the Father's heart, his heartbeat. I saw the Trinity surrounding each one of us, and we were so individualized and so special, like we were the only person that had ever been created. And the Trinity, all three persons of the Trinity had their hands, they were holding hands around each one of us, and their eyes were just so sharp and focused on us. And as the heart would beat, as the Father's heart would beat, they would step into us and disappear. And then they would step out. It was just like a heartbeat, back and forth, back and forth. So I felt like that they were stepping into each one of us individually, and we were expanding into someone new and fresh and someone that's never been before.
I'm going to receive that as an amazing word. Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you, Donna. That's
a wrap.
That's a wrap. Who said that? That's a wrap. That's so good. All right.
I think Elizabeth wanted to say something.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, along the lines of our oneness in the beginning, someone said something and I saw us as one, but it's, you know how you used to do paper dolls when you were little and you could, like, you'd open it up, it'd be one, but then you'd open it up and it was many. And
Right.
so I just kept seeing that as, you know, we're many, but we're one. So I thought that
Love
was
that. Love that image. That's so
Great.
good. That's so good. Wow. Okay. Well, you know, the bottom line, I feel encouraged to take the next step. I feel encouraged not to run ahead. I feel encouraged to in this oneness to continue and do my best not to step out in thought, word, and deed of the love, right? That we really established tonight. And it just feels really peaceful. I think the only thing I can say is it feels peaceful. Kim, do you want to, anything?
No,
No?
it's beautiful. Wow, I'm so glad I got to be here tonight.
So glad you joined in. Thank you. Anybody, Gina, anything?
Yeah, no, I'm just in bliss over here.
Okay.
All by myself, just in bliss. I'm not by myself, I'm with y'all, but you know. Oh,
Yeah,
we're with
that's so lovely. Well, until next week, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May make a space to shine upon you, be gracious unto you. May lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his shalom. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Okay, lovely.